This is a good beat. Why aren't you dancing?
Dancing is forbidden. 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 Dancing is forbidden.
Yoo-hoo, running crew, welcome to Dancing is Forbidden, an Aqua Teen Hunger Force exploration. I am Ronnie, and today we are talking teens with Kirksplosion, creator of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the very unofficial game. Kirk and I talk about his experiences with Aqua Teen, and then we also get a lot into the creation of the game and how it came about. I've talked about the very unofficial game on this show before. If you don't know, it's a fan game. It's a really good fan game, probably the best game that Aqua Teen has, where you are essentially playing in an episode of the show. And the loose plot here, I'm not going to give anything away, but the Moonanites come down to, take over the Aqua Teen's neighborhood. They enlist 3 robots to help them out. They have Robo-Sitter, Cybernetic Ghost of Christmas Past from the future, and the Rabot. And you have to kind of solve these puzzles and stuff to defeat each robot, and then you can finally defeat the Moonanites. It's a really great game. It just goes above and beyond in so many different aspects. I was just blown away, and I can't overstate this. I was blown away how good this was, from the art to the music to the storyline, because there's just so much written dialogue and everything, and everything. It was such a fun experience, way better than I was expecting it to be. And the cool thing about all of this is that Kirk, he has no experience doing any of this. He had to learn how to do every aspect of game development, essentially, to make this game, and it's just astounding not only how great it turned out, but that he finished it to begin with, and it's just awesome. You know, I've been making this podcast for over a year now. Kirk, it took him over 3 years to make the game, so, well before I started this podcast, he was chugging away, just writing this love letter to the show. I'm putting links to everything discussed here in the show notes, but basically, if you want to play this game, you need a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, and then on there, you need a game called Dreams. Dreams, I believe it's made by Sony, and it is basically a program that you can use to make your own games, which is what Kirk used, and there's plenty of other games on there as well. But you need Dreams to play this game. The game itself, the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the very unofficial game, is free, but you need Dreams to run it. So Dreams itself is $20, not on sale, but it is frequently on sale for $8. So, do give it a look if you have a PlayStation. For example, right now I'm recording this in early November of 2022, and Dreams is on sale. So $8, it's a no-brainer. $20, I think, is still definitely worth it to play this game. And I know you might be thinking, Ronnie, I don't have a PlayStation, but I want to check this game out. How do I do that? First of all, the trailer is in the show notes, but at some point in probably December, I'll let you know in a future episode, and of course, keep an eye out on the socials. I will be streaming this game. I already did stream it in the past, but I'll be streaming it again, and from there, I will take the video and edit it down and put it on YouTube, so people who cannot actually play the game can still see what it is and follow the storyline and all that good stuff. So keep an eye out on that. If you're listening to this at a future date, check the show notes, because maybe it's already out. Something else that you'll find in the show notes is the original version of the game that Kirksplosion was working on, which was a 2D game he was making on the computer. I don't think he got very far along with it, but the video is really cool because he has this working meat wad animation where you can move meat wad around the screen, and it looks exactly 100% like the TV show. So definitely check that out. I hope he can go back to that at some point, because even though the 3D game on PlayStation is awesome, this 2D game has a great charm in its own, and I would love to see him do something with that. The last thing I want to say before we head into this conversation is something I heard recently by Rob over at loweffortcontent.com, and surely Rob didn't make this up, but he said, attention is love. The things that you pay attention to, you start to love over time, both positive and negative. If you pay attention to these negative things in your life, if you indulge your negative thoughts, you will start to love them. And having paid so much attention to Aqua Teen in this past year, it's really reignited my love for this show. and it probably in a deeper way than I ever did when I originally fell in love with the show. And we found that, a microcosm of this is when I cover most episodes that I start out like, yeah, I didn't really like this one at first, but after really deep diving into it, I've really come to like it. And I think that's just really an example of this whole concept of the things you pay attention to are the things that you start to love. And maybe this is kind of our way of justifying our experiences. It happens with music too. You hear a song so many times, you start to love it because you paid attention to it so many times. And Kirk, he paid attention to Aqua Teen for, besides most of his life, he paid attention to it very intensely for that 3-year period working on the game. And that says a lot about him and the things that he loves. And it was just almost cathartic for me to talk to Kirk because he's someone else who has paid a lot of attention and really loved Aqua Teen in a similar way. So I hope you enjoy this conversation between two weirdos talking teens. I guess the best place to start, since you are an Aqua Teen fan and anybody listening is going to be an Aqua Teen fan, let's talk a little bit about your history with the show and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, what is your history with Aqua Teen? Where did you first hear about it? Do you remember when you first got into it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was in high school when Adult Swim really kicked off. So it just felt like it was made for me. Like the humor was just perfectly aligned with my humor, and I was already into a lot of adult animated shows like Duckman and other things all on MTV, Beavis and Butthead, Liquid Television, all that sort of stuff. So I was just already into adult animation, so it was just perfect, honestly. I just could watch the entire block of Adult Swim, and it was just fantastic.
Were you aware of Space Ghost before Adult Swim kicked off?
Probably not. I think it was probably Adult Swim that made all that aware to me. I watched it consistently all through high school, and then once I went off to college and I didn't want to pay for cable anymore, I pretty much dropped off precipitously after that. so yeah, it was 4 years of solid watching, and then not much after that.
That's kind of how it seems to be with people I talk to, that there's really nobody that watched the entire time. It's people were really into it for a period, and then you kind of drop off, and then you pick it back up at some later date.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have multiple seasons of Aqua. I think maybe every DVD season of Aqua Teen, but I've only watched up to season 4 or 5. I was I'll watch them eventually, and I still haven't. But I'm looking forward to you getting to those future episodes. I'm going to watch along or listen along and watch along with you.
Yeah, because as I've said on the podcast, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I've seen episodes from every later season, but I haven't seen every episode from all the later seasons. By choice at this point, because I want it to be a surprise once we get there. But yeah, I'm excited to see kind of where it goes. So do you have a favorite, of the main cast? Do you have a favorite character on Aqua Teen?
It's got to be Meatwad. I love the idiot friend for sure. I mean, you love them all, but he's just so dumb and lovable. I can't get enough of Meatwad. I was quoting him to my kids today. We were watching our kids' soccer game, and I was like, "This is for the time for the show."
Yeah, it's the interesting thing about Aqua Teen was that it has a character like Meatwad that's a sweet kind of lovable character, and most Adult Swim shows don't have anything like that, and I think that's an aspect that can draw people in. And Brack Show had that as well, but most shows didn't. Most shows, especially in the mid to late 2000s, were really mean. And Aqua Teen had that with Shake, but yeah, they still had the sweet component with Meatwad, which I appreciated.
Right, the innocent one, but every once in a while he'd get pretty dark with it, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Which I'm curious to see if they do more of that as the show progresses, or how it goes. I guess we'll see.
So do you have a favorite episode of the show?
Oh gosh, Revenge of the Mooninites. Is that the Fornevelt episode? That's probably number one. Yeah, I love the Mooninites. They're my favorite villains by far. So anything I can get Icknick-Knocked and in.
Yeah, I was rewatching the Moonmaster episode with the Moon and Knights from season 3 where they have that shitty because I was rewatching that because I'm going to be covering that Aqua Donk, and I forgot how fucking funny that episode is. That's probably my favorite Moon and Knight one, is where they come down with that shitty game and then they try and get them into like a multi-level marketing scheme selling their shitty catalog stuff.
Right.
It's so funny.
Which season is Munawana? Because I did end up watching
that. Is season 4,
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
the 4th season.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I'm-
a really funny one too.
Yeah, that's great. I'm almost certain that's the last season I watched. Season 4.
Yeah, season 4 came out and then they did the movie. And then my understanding is season 5 isn't that good, especially because the first 3 episodes, I think, of season 5, the Aqua Teens aren't even in it. It's just like
Oh, wow.
Carl.
Oh, yeah, because that's when they shifted to... Is that Aqua Unit Patrol Squad, or was it...
No, that's a little bit later, but they tried to experiment a little bit. I don't know if it worked or not. I guess we'll find out when we
We'll see.
get there on the podcast. But yeah, because I was like a teenager at the time catching those episodes, and I'm like, the Aqua Teens aren't even fucking in this. Like, what am I watching right now? It was pretty frustrating. But yeah, those first 4 seasons are the golden era, I think.
Yeah, they're really good. And honestly, I know the movie gets kind of dunked on now, but it was probably my favorite movie-going experience of all time at the theaters to see
Oh,
to see that, because
sure.
the intro, the Mastodon intro, where it's like, we have your money. So we're gonna spend it on drugs now. It's like, this is fantastic. And just being in a room of people who get the same jokes, who have the same sense of humor on like opening weekend was just incredible.
Right. Yeah. Because on the Patreon, I'm covering the film, and I just wrapped it up finally. And that's basically what I said. I'm like, regardless of how good or not the movie is, I could only imagine what that film going experience was like, because to me, like, that's the biggest thing to come from that film is that experience. Like, I didn't get to go back in the day, but like just the fact that all these Aqua Teen fans got to get together at a movie theater and see the film together, to me, like, made the movie, I think.
It was special for sure. I can't wait for the new one, man. The trailer. Like, I was excited because it's Aqua Teen, of course, but man, that trailer blew me away. I wasn't expecting anything to that scale. It was really impressive what they're doing. It almost feels like they have a second chance to like do it right or something.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I'm sure that's how they see it too. On to your game, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the very unofficial game. Did you play any other Aqua Teen games before starting your own? Like, besides the official one, did you also play any other fan games?
Never any fan games. Although, I mean, there's technically was one on Dreams, although it's not there anymore. But yeah, sure, I've played that. But otherwise, I never played the Zombie Ninja Pro Am game on the PlayStation 2 at the time. I was, I could not just blow my money, and it was getting just like pretty poorly reviewed at the time, so I didn't pick it up. But I did play a lot of the Adult Swim like .com Flash games that they had back in the day. Did you ever play those? Are you familiar with them?
I did.
Yeah. I played several of those. But yeah, never played the Zombie Ninja Pro Am, but I did watch a lot of the cutscenes. In when I was trying to make this game, I was just looking at some of their models and stuff just to see how they resolve some things. Like, what did they do with Frylock's nose, or those sort of things where it's kind of hard to tell in 2D exactly what the layout of the house looks like, or that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And full disclosure, I did know that you didn't play that game because we talked about it when I streamed it, but I thought I would ask again for the listeners here who didn't catch that. How long did you want to make an Aqua Teen game for until you finally did it? Like, was this an idea you kind of had for years until you finally got started on it?
Yes. Yeah. I think going back to 2013, I think is when it was first a nugget of an idea. I was in between jobs and looking for a job at the time, and I was like, just needed an outlet to do some things. So I started toying around with making like a 2D game on the PC. Now, I've never made a game in my life. This was the first time I'd ever even toyed around with one. So I used some of the pretty basic PC gaming, like game building software, because I'm certainly not going to be using Unreal or something, because I can't code.
Right.
so yeah, I toyed around with making a 2D game for a little while, and then I became gainfully employed, and that just went by the wayside.
How long did this game take from start to finish, would you say? Like, how many years?
I would say 2.5 to 3. like part of that, of course, was learning the software itself, trying to figure out how to do the things I wanted to do, and then it's like get better, build the assets, and then eventually get to the programming side of things. So I would say a total of 3 years working on the thing. And of course, I've got a full-time job and a wife and 3 kids, so that was more like
Right.
my free gaming time is pretty much. So I did very little gaming in the last 3 years because I was working on this.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, because you made it in Dreams, which is on the PlayStation. You didn't make it on a computer and then like export it to PlayStation. It was made on a PlayStation. So your time making this was literally your gaming time. You're sitting there with the controller in your hand. But instead of playing a game, you are in Dreams creating this game that other people can then play.
Exactly right.
Do you remember when you first heard about Dreams? Do you remember like an aha moment for you? Like, oh, I could use this to make my game instead of Game Maker on the computer or whatever.
Well, I remember hearing about Dreams when it was announced for the PlayStation 3. Like, I forgot what year it was, but it was supposed to be on the PlayStation 3, and the development took so long that it got pushed back to the PS4, and it was almost towards the end of the PS4's lifetime. It was, I think, the PS5 might have come out 2 years after Dreams did. At that time, I was not even considering it for that. In fact, when I started making the assets, I started just making a master shake because I thought, oh, this will be fun. I did not have a game in mind. I was just gonna make some assets and because the way Dreams works is you can make assets and things and let other people use them and play with them to make their own games. And that was my plan. I'm just gonna make some characters, throw them in there, let people play with them. But the deeper I went into it, I was like, well, I can just start making my own. And I built the house, and I was like, I'll just let the player explore the house. That'll be fun. Because I can't program. But then I thought, oh, no, I played a Toy Story game on Dreams that was literally just that, and I was like, this is lame. I want to play a game. This is not what I want. So I was like, well, if an Aqua Teen fan boots this up and you're just getting to explore the house, it's kind of a letdown. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do it right. And I just had to scope it really small because I knew that I could not be making an Aqua Teen MMO or anything in this. I just had to make sure it was scoped really small.
I really like that, how you started really small, really like just make a master shake, and then it just built up. And I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people, especially younger people listening in, that it's easy. Like if you went into it like, I'm gonna make this whole game that's basically an episode, you probably would have given up on it because it would have been too big of a project to take on all at once. But when you start one piece at a time and just keep building it, and like you said, you weren't trying to make like an MMO or something crazy like that. Although I would like to see the Moonmaster MMO. I think that would work very well. But yeah, I really like how you came about that. But not only did you do the modeling and like the writing and everything, but you also did the music for the game, correct?
That's right. Which was mostly just like remixes of existing, I mostly recreated the Aqua Teen music. A lot of it was anyway.
How did that work? Like, did you figure these tracks out by ear and just put them into the game, or were you able to load in like MIDI files or something?
I think they do have some sort of working MIDI integration, but I've never used it. I don't know how it sounded a little bit above me. I could not handle it. So I did it by ear. I mean, I don't know anything about music either, so that it probably would have been a lot easier if I did. But no, I would literally just go through, play it note by note, being like, all right, let me listen to this section. Okay.
Oh, man.
Just piece it together. Yeah, it was arduous for me because I don't have any background in which should be inspiring. I have no background in music, in programming, in 3D modeling. I mean, none of it. And that's why it took 3 years.
That's the most astounding thing about the game, and I think something you should really be proud of, because I know a lot of people who do know how to make music and they never make an album. They do know how to program, they do know how to do this or that, and they never make a game or whatever. And you didn't know how to do any of this stuff, but you were still able to make a game that you can play, first of all, and second of all, that's actually fun to play and enjoyable to play. So like, I hope that, I don't want to proselytize too much about this, but I hope you do recognize like how big of an achievement that is, how awesome that is that you're able to pull that off. Because again, like I know so many programmers and game developers that don't actually finish a game.
I appreciate that. It means a lot. And it's probably because, half the time when you do something for for a profession, you don't want to like spend spend all your other waking hours working on it too. So, but yeah, I've heard I know a guy who makes like big models, and he described working on a project like this. He said, "How do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time." So I thought that was a beautiful analogy because yeah, I mean, I just
Yes.
had to
Yeah.
just peck at it just day by day for. I mean,
Mhm.
not day by day. I couldn't work on it daily, but yes, every week I was usually putting in at least a couple hours to try to
Mhm.
finish it up. And I thought it was going to be done way sooner than it was. Every year, I'd be like, I think I can get it done this year. Oh, here's another year gone. I guess that's just game development.
Right, right. I mean, like the cool thing was, and I'm really assuming here, is that you didn't really have like a deadline, so you weren't really stressing yourself out about it. It sounds like, and I think that can kill a lot of projects too. If you're like, I have to get it done by this day, and like it's usually some date that is completely unachievable to get the thing done by, and then it just kills the project. So I think that's really cool too. That you were just like doing it when you could and not really stressing about it. That's my impression,
Yeah,
anyways.
pretty much. I did at one point on the Dreams Reddit thread do like it was probably like March of 2022, and or no, 2021.
I know I saw one from you in 2021 on the Dreams thread because I was looking up about the game yesterday.
Okay, so yeah, I did a post on the Dreams Reddit forum that was like in March 2021. It was like coming at the end of 2021. And it was no, I did not hit that. It was like 6 months later, but yeah, you're right. I didn't stress about it because it's a fan game I'm not getting paid for. So
Right.
so I have no one pressuring me to get it done other than myself.
Right.
I mean, every
Right.
once in a while I get a message like, "Hey man, is this game
Where is
done
it?
yet, bro?"
What would you say overall was the most difficult part about the game? Like, what specific aspect was most difficult for you to overcome?
In general, I would say it's probably the programming side of things. Every time I've tried to like do game creation tutorials and stuff, I always have a great time until they start getting deep into the math, and then it loses me. So yeah, it was probably that was towards the end. I don't know the proper way to do this, but I went from like asset creation to the environment creation, and then started working on sounds and stuff, and then ended with all the programming side. I think typically when if they're building games, they'll like use programmer art to build the game, and then like actual program it to make sure that it's fun, etc. Even though the art's
Mhm.
not there. So I did it in reverse, pretty much. Probably from like the things that I'm most comfortable with to the things I'm least comfortable with. To like
Mhm.
just get the momentum, going. And there's some aspects to Dreams that are hard to work with. Like there's a thing called thermo in Dreams, which is sort of the limitation, like the size limitation, the memory limitation on it. So it was hard to do a lot of the things I wanted to with that limitation in mind. Like you could only have so many unique sculpts inside of your environment. So having all the different characters in was really tricky because they were all very specific. I couldn't like reuse elements. Like some games might be reusing different models here and there, different things all over the place, but having all these different Aqua Teen characters took up a lot of space.
I'm sure that's similar to some of the constraints that they dealt with back in the early 2000s while working on the show, too. So I think it's kind of fitting that you probably had similar constraints
Sure.
as they had. Was there something that you wanted to include in the game that you weren't able to?
Oh, for sure. The you can interact with the computer in the game, and I was wanting to do. I mean, it was more like a stretch goal. Like if I if I really got into this, I could do. I wanted to do like a clam digger like mini game that you could pop on, and then on the TV you can interact with it as well. And I thought it'd be fun to do like the I don't know something, maybe the insult master or something like that.
What aspect of the game are you like the most happy with? Are you the proudest of how it turned out?
Fuck, I mean, just that it works was a pretty big part of it. Let's see. I don't know. I s- I guess that it has some coherence to it, to the puzzles, well, if you can call them puzzles, like to the steps along the way that I'm happy with the writing. You
Mhm.
you stare at at all this that I've written over 3 years, and I'm like, after 3 years, it's like this is stupid. I think maybe this might be terrible. I don't know anymore. So, but I think it's okay. I think now that I've had some distance from it, I think the writing was okay.
What would you say that you are the least happy with? Like, is there something that you kind of wish, like, oh, I kind of want to go back and redo that and fix that?
There were some aspects, like I wished when I had written the story. One issue I have with the story is that the whole plot is that Ignignok and are plotting this robot invasion of the Aqua Teen's house, right? The plan that they use makes too much sense, frankly, in the game because they're idiots. So, like, the fact that they actually recruited 3 robots to do this is too coherent of a plan for them to actually put together. So I'd already sculpted all my characters at that point, but I very strongly considered getting rid of Robositter and replacing her with Moth Monster Man, and I even had a full script for her, like for him instead of her in that spot, and how it'd play out. But after I'd written all that, I realized I've just put too much time into Robositter, and to fully develop this other character is just going to take too much time. So I'd say that's the one thing I'm like, man, I wish if I could go back in time and tell myself to rewrite this thing. That's probably the one thing I would change.
So that kind of answers my next question. It was going to be, if you could go back and give yourself advice on day one with the knowledge you have now, what would that advice be? Like on day one of working on the project, what would you tell yourself? So I guess besides the whole Moth Monster Man thing.
If I could go back in time, I would say you can get this done in a year and a half. I promise. Because if I knew it was 3 years out, 100% would not have continued with it. So I would have lied to myself, first of all. And then probably just in terms of, it would probably just have to do with the dreams constraints, because I had to rebuild the exterior of the house, I think 3 times, just because I was dealing with those size limitation constraints. It's weird technical stuff of why that was the case, but yeah, I had to rebuild brick by brick. That's stupid. I mean, a copy and pasting, of course, but still, I had to do that so many times.
Do you have any plans to make more Aqua Teen fan games?
I'd really like to. I still want to make the 2D one. Like the original concept for the one I was going to make on PC was that it would just look exactly like the show. So I had a working Meatwad animation that was, I literally and then took screenshots of every roll of Meatwad's animation, traced it in Illustrator, and had it moving around, and I was like, this is great. So I would still really like to do that.
Yeah. You sent that to me, and it really genuinely looked like it was from the show. You even had him jumping, and there'd be a little shadow underneath and everything. Like, it looked 100% real. And I mean, I would love to see a game in that style, because that looked better than the official Flash games on Adult Swim's website and stuff. Like, this looked legit like an episode. It was crazy.
Well, that was half the reason. I'm thinking Aqua Teen deserves this kind of treatment. This show, it's legendary, and you should have a cool game that all these other IPs have, that are fun to play and their fans get to play. It's like the fans deserve some good Aqua Teen content to play.
Yeah, it's surprising how this is kind of an example of that I notice, for example, other Adult Swim shows like Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, Squidbillies, these other Dave Willis shows on Instagram and Twitter, they have their own accounts, but Aqua Teen doesn't have an official Twitter account. Aqua Teen doesn't have an Instagram account. And same thing, it's Aqua Teen, back in the day it got some games, but not anymore, although I don't know if they really even do games anymore. But it seems like for as big as the show is, it's one of the biggest Adult Swim shows, it doesn't really get a lot of love from Adult Swim, it kind of seems like.
Yeah, I guess it's just hard to convince the publishers to spend money on a show that's been canceled for however many years. So
that's a good point.
I mean, it almost seems like they're trying to kick it back into gear with Aqua Dunks in the movie. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, one can hope. I know this is a different version of a question I already asked you, but would you outside of Aqua Teen, would you want to try and make more games in general, or are you just sticking to the Aqua Teen fandom world?
Mm, I don't know. A little bit of me wants to do that, but man, that was a long 3 years. I'd have to really love it. I mean, that's the only way I could really really dig in for 3 years on this because it's just something I really enjoy. So it would have to be an idea that I'm very fond of to do so. And the cool thing about Dreams is that now that I have all the assets created, it wouldn't be quite the undertaking to make something else because I can just use the same, meat, water, Frylock, and shake models and do something else with it. But to answer the question, probably not. I mean, look, if I could get a group together for that 2D Aqua Teen project, maybe I could churn out some art assets while somebody else does the programming.
So that's really it for the questions I had for you. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on the topic of the game, if there's anything we didn't touch on that you would like to, that you feel is worth mentioning.
Not really. The games out there on Dreams for the PS4, PS5, and I'm gonna eventually make the assets available to anyone who has Dreams, so they could.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make the the environments and all the character models available for anyone to try to use and make their own games with.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to clean it up a little bit because it's a mess of
right.
Coding.
Uh-huh.
And I was gonna thank you for introducing me to the Rabot Remixed project because I use Dreams to submit 3 different scenes.
Oh, really?
Scenes to that, yeah. I think.
Oh, nice. That's so cool. Has she put any of your work in a trailer?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so I have seen it because that explains it now because I must not have realized that was you because now that you say that, I'm like, wait, I think I do remember some 3D stuff that looked just like your game. Now that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I've got the first scene. So the robot jumping in and smashing Carl's car is
beautiful.
It's one of my scenes. So yeah, that's been a fun project. There's so many talented people in that group. It's amazing, and they're all so young. I feel I'm twice as old as anybody there, and and I'm not even an animator really. I'm just just happen to have these assets that I could throw together.
One thing I wanted to ask you: would you be able to add voice acting or something? I feel like we could put a group together of people who sound kind of like the characters and put it in the game.
I would consider it. Yeah, I mean that would be a considerable amount of work. But I actually reached out to a guy maybe 2 weeks ago because first of all I have reached out to people, to groups, hey, anyone on Reddit do good voices, etc., etc. I think I've even reached out on Facebook, but I mean I'm sure you'd have more reach because I was just a random idiot trying to find some people. And my usual question was, is there anyone who can do a good Master Shake? Because he's the sticking point. Trying to sound like Dana Snyder is hard. But I was on Facebook and there's a guy he did a Master Shake, Meatwad, Carl, and Frylock. And I was like, holy shit, this guy. So I contacted him. I was like, hey, if you would do voice lines for this game, it's just a fan game, I can't pay you because it's just a free thing that I did. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm down. So I just so I've got that contact if I ever decide to go forward with this.
So there you have it. Any voice actors here? I know there are a few of you. If you want to reach out to Kirk, please do so. You could find Kirk on Twitter at Kirksplosion and on Instagram at Kirksplosion1. Links to both in the show notes and basically everything else that we mentioned. Again, it was just so great to talk to Kirk and just, touch base with somebody who dedicated so much time to Aqua Teen to, again, write this love letter to the show. And it was just so, in my mind, wildly successful. I was just blown away by how good it actually was. And I'm really picky about writing and stuff when it comes to writing for Aqua Teen. I've seen fan scripts online, and honestly, they typically don't really impress me. They don't really seem like it's actually for Aqua Teen in terms of the character tone and stuff. But this here really did. Kirk really understood the characters, and he did a great job writing the game and the dialogue and just everything along with it. Again, hope you enjoyed that conversation, and I will see you next week. I don't know what we'll be doing because as of this recording, Plantasm is coming out in just a few days, so I will see if I can put some sort of episode together about that, but if not, then we will be diving in to the second to last episode, the penultimate episode of Season 2 of Aqua Teen, The Cloning. Not sure what we'll be doing, but we'll be doing something. In the meantime, let me shout out the homies. We've got Sean, Ian, Captain Buford, Brian, Robinson, and Reverend Raven 46. You guys can play Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the very unofficial game, any day of the week. Bye-bye.